Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Wow, it's Tuesday. It's the month of July. The year is on its way. Before you know it, God's will, we'll be celebrating Christmas in a festive spirit. Maybe you're thinking about that already. Well, 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. It's going to be open line. I want to hear from you. So give us a shout and share your thoughts. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, listen, let's hear from you. Let's share with you. Let's have our listeners be inspired because of you. And it's a great, wonderful society in which we live. For some of us, things are looking even better, not just getting back to normal, but getting better. It certainly is indicative of a healthy democracy that we're now able to still have a legislative assembly, meet and as it conducts the country's affairs, whether it's passing legislation, amending, whether there are reports being laid in the House, there's debate and discussion, and with that, maybe information. It's excellent that we can pick up, through the media at different things that happen. Some of us may even be able to listen or hear or actually watch it in person. And I say that because I'm still encouraged by Ms. Katina Amins, ongoing discussions yesterday, Friday, even in the past. A lot of you have already shared how important it is that despite, what politicians may say, oh, it's not politics, but it always is politics. But politics isn't necessarily just about civics. Civics is not about politics. Well, let's go to our phones and ensure that our callers have a voice. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Yes, I'm good, thanks. And you?
Very blessed and thank you.
I'm just checking do you have any idea when Fidelity will start pay out the pension?
There are many I know the future isn't one of them. Respectfully, I'm not sure. We can ask. We know that they were, some comments from them. We know that the Honorable Premier, even at the press briefing, sent reference to him. We know that in the Public Accounts Committee. Maybe we could ask, sort of a question on behalf of our listeners as part of the media and say, hey, what's going on? So let's see what we can find out for you. Maybe somebody will call in today and give us an answer because they heard it. Hopefully it's soon.
Okay, because I really need to know, Mr. Sterling, because I think they're over the time now, and we only.
If I can ask you, and I do not wish to, as I say, to get into your business, but could you share with us anything from your perspective? When was the last time you made contact with them?
The only thing we got from them, we got the response that they acknowledge that they receive our application.
Okay.
But for payout, no, nothing. We haven't heard
So
anything from them.
again, I just wanted to maybe understand it better because we know from different people what they shared. But how long has it been since you say you made your first contact with them? Has it been a
From
week, a month?
from the from the very first time the premier said we can. Oh, the contact with them. I haven't made any contact with them because there's no one you can get there at the office when you call.
Okay,
But
so
the
it's been.
application went in from the premier. Give the go ahead. We submit our application.
And if it's not too intrusive, was that something you handed off in person? Was it sent by email? How was it done?
Um, I, I did it through an agent.
Okay, okay. Because we understand some people have been helping others along the way. And how is that process with getting an agent to help you? Was that helpful? Was it expensive? What was it like?
It was kind of expensive, but just to get the correct thing done.
Yeah, you want it done, and
Yeah. I don't want they send back to say they refuse because we missed this and we missed that, So I just prefer to do it through the agent.
Well, sometimes people will pay a little bit more than they would want to necessarily or feel they should have to begin with, but I guess that's how it is.
I'm sure that
That's good.
agents submit them because they did respond to my email that they received the application.
Sorry, Mom, I missed some of that as well. But yeah, and we just had one quick comment from someone who was asking about agent. Is that like an insurance, one of those insurance agent, or just somebody who's helping out?
Somebody who's helping.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm making a note as we talk. Maybe somehow send some sort of question uh, to Fidelity directly, and just say, we have a question again. This one publicly. Thank you for doing that because we've had a number of people ask off air and not being able or willing to publicly just question. Maybe we'll get a very formal, definitive response, and more so than what we already have been hearing. I hope you get through with it, and hopefully when you do, it's not going to be, an expensive check to cash for those who get theirs by check. Is there anything else you want?
I already paid the agents for the paperwork, so when
Yeah.
the payout is out, there's nothing more for them to do.
No. Well, sorry. Yeah. Well, see that you paid your part to get your part done. No, you just want to get paid. No, we had a number of people um, who have received checks, have gone to their bank on which the check was drawn and cashed the check, and the banks have said, okay, we'll cash this check, but they've charged them in some cases, 100 and as I say, 100 big odd, $100+ to cash the check, and wow, that sounded a lot, but I guess maybe they're able to do that on a percentage basis. So hopefully you can, and maybe we can figure out something before the show is out for you.
So is there any way you can find out anything for me?
We will. We know that there is the email that they have published as to how to respond. Just asked someone as we were talking to give me another email for someone who presumed is somehow connected to the organization to see if we can send an email. And the email is just started to type it as you were talking. Just simply says, we had a call again today, this one publicly, asking about when payments can be expected. Can you please let us know so that we can give some answer, hopefully before the show ends today? So that's the question we're asking, and they can respond if that's possible. They can say, well, we're working on it as best as we can, but I don't wish to speak in a way that sounds any more ill than it may already have been. So I hope it gets through because I know that for many of us, it's very helpful and timely. And then we'll let you know. All right.
Okay,
Thank you very
much. Have a good day.
You too, Mom, and it works well for you. that is the other thing that we've had a number of discussions uh, just today alone. I mean, I know it's only 12:30 or so, but it's been, an already wonderful day. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Sterling,
Hey, how are you?
not too bad, not too bad. How you doing?
I'm very thankful, trying always to be grateful and as well as gracious.
Oh, I see. A long time no talk, man. Tell me, what's the topic today about? The people who
Right
can't get the pension money or what?
that was that's the first call. People are also sharing their thoughts in relation to
Well,
that
I
peak.
give a joke. I give a joke. There was a guy at the farmer's market about 2 weeks ago, and he had a queue of about 500 people, and he was charging them about $150 just to do the application for them. He was doing pension, he was doing the loan from Cayman Island Development Bank, and he was doing another one. I think is the $3,000 grant thing. And
Right.
people was in a long queue, and all this guy was doing is filling out forms and taking papers and collecting money. And I said he's an agent. Agent of what? So I asked him, you have a business license? He says no, he doesn't have don't need a business license. He's just filling out forms. So I don't, and the people he will deliver them to the right places there where the people supposed to have them go.
hmm Have you heard any more about not necessarily that particular example you referenced, but in other instances? Because we've heard from other people as well where they've been offered assistance and then they paid a certain sum. Your case was 150. I've heard a little higher, I heard a little bit lower, but and I appreciate you sharing that publicly because other people have been unwilling to say likewise, even though they've apparently paid or witnessed or know of it firsthand. Do you think that sort of operation should be subject to some sort of regulation, licensing, oversight by whether it's the pensions office, trade and business license, uh, something just to make sure people are not, you know, helping themselves?
If you're providing a service, you should be regulated. You should have a license. But another situation I ran into yesterday was quite shocking to me. I went inside. I got a check from somebody. I went in Butterfield Bank, and they charged me $5 to cash the check. I didn't know Butterfield was charging money for check cashing. No.
Well, I believe that's the case, but I'll give you one that's even more fortunate. A fellow shared that he went to another bank to cash the pension check, and he had to pay, over $100 to cash that check. So, you know, you would think if it's a fee to cash a check, should it really be based on the amount? I mean, should there even be a fee to cash a check at the bank in which the check is drawn on to begin with? But that's another question.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't. I mean, fair is fair. If a check is drawn on the bank, I don't see any reason why they should charge you a fee. But it's like everything. This pandemic here has everybody going crazy. Posters had stopped charging us for bags. We're getting bags free. Now they have the bags gone back to 5 cents a piece. You know that.
Well, I found out that the hard way because I went to shop the other day. I stood in line, waited, and got into the shop, made my purchases. The cashier, as she always does, very pleasantly helps the bag, puts the stuff in. I ended up with a lot more bags than I would normally have, but I guess safety is part of the concern. When I got home, I realized that I was charged for bags. As you said, up until then, you weren't being charged for bags. But that policy was changed and maybe not properly, conveyed to us as a shopping public. So now it seems that bags are the reusable shopping bags are now once again allowed to come back into the shops. I guess after you get a number of positives, then it really doesn't matter. I don't know.
Rough around here. I'll tell you another one. I see cashier and Foster's now mopping floor, cleaning gas, and guys who used to work in the meat department picking up carts. So I asked what happened, with normal cart. And he says, no, but I have to make my hours. And they say you have to do what you have to do. I mean, things are just going crazy from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Then I hear the politicians last night arguing that gas was actually given away because we're producing too much and they were giving away free Canada. And then North America was begging people to take the gas for free and we paying $4.99, $4.58 in Cayman, and so I don't know. It's just a rough situation, yeah.
Yep. I hear you, man. It's just, but again, it comes down to, as you were sharing, it comes down to being aware of what's happening, not just in the world, but specifically what's happening here in Cayman, and being willing to share information, to ask questions publicly. Take, for instance, if I've gotten I've counted them. Last count was 58 comments or questions about the proceedings in the Legislative Assembly or some of the reportings of it, and specifically relating to the government through the Commerce Minister and Planning Minister looking at making some sort of quote-unquote deals, with respect to developers going forward. But that information, as the opposition leader questioned, isn't as yet available to be published so that as a public we know. So is that the way it is? But I appreciate your sentiments, man. Let's pick you up again and chat some more. We've got a break to take, but thanks very much for sharing.
And we keep listening. Okay, you take it easy. Have a good day.
You too, sir. Thank you very much. Listen, call after the break and share with us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners is pleased to announce the change in its opening and closing hours for all of its locations. Savannah Countryside, 946-1884, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays. Arbitorium Plaza, Elgin Avenue, 949-2452, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays. Our main store, 337 Eastern Avenue, will be open from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays, 949-7104. These hours will remain in place until further notice. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
It's not Tool Fest at A.L. Thompson's, but it's almost as good. Tool Fest has been an annual 2-day event since 2009, but because of current events, there will be no live demos. But that's okay, because what will be at Not Tool Fest is the deepest discounts of the year on select hand tools and power tools for 3 weeks. Save big on tools by Makita, Milwaukee, Bosch, Skill, Dremel, and other power brands, and get 15% off all items in the tools department now through July 4th. Remember that Father's Day is June 21st, so give them a big boy toy from A.L. Thompson's during Not Tool Fest.
Hi, this is Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands. We are now in the hurricane season, and for information on how to prepare and stay safe, please visit our website, www.caymanprepared.ky. Some top tips to bear in mind, given that we are still in the midst of COVID-19. Please make sure you have a mask and sanitizer, you have food supplies to last for 3 to 5 days, a portable radio, personal hygiene and sanitation items, and medical supplies, and any other specific items your family may need during a hurricane. Make sure you know where you will shelter in the event of a storm. If you have pets, please make sure provisions are in place for them too, as the majority of shelters will not take pets. Please visit our website for more tips and tricks on www.caymanprepared.ky or call us on 945-4624. Stay safe, Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. It is open line, and we certainly enjoy this opportunity because it gives us a chance to not only hear straight from you, but have you share directly with our listeners as well. It's 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Drew. How are you?
Very thankful. And you, my friend, how are you?
I am thankful, and I'm very, very thankful as well. You know, during this pandemic, you would think that people would try to help one another, but you know, contrary to that, they're trying to take from one another. You hear of there's so many horrible cases of price gouging. And I mean, it's a pandemic. You know, it's not like it's a like you know it's a thing where people is making all of a sudden now the stocks has gone up. People is making a whole heap of money, and you know it's not like that. It's a pandemic. Some people do not even have work. Look at the poor people that's in the tourism, the sector in Cayman. They're struggling to make ends meet, but yet we want to put the price up of everything that is going to ultimately affect everybody. I don't know what people are thinking about, but it's quite sad. I mean, and the worrying thing is, and what worries me most of all, in respect of the price gouging that is taking place, and listening to the people who legislate our island. Yesterday, a question was asked. I believe it was otherwise Kenny Brand or the leader of the opposition. But I believe it was more the leader of opposition. But what struck me was the answer that was received from the premier. That was very striking. I mean, it completely caught me off guard. The question was, was there anything that Albright could do to reduce people who are providing internet service? They're saying you're getting so much gigabytes, but when you check it out, you're not even getting half the amount. And he said that there was really nothing that Albright could do. Julian, put yourself in a position. If you go to the gas station and you say to the gas attendant, please fill my car up with gas.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back and he tells you, okay, sir, you owe me $115, which represents 30 gallons for argument's sake. And you pay him. But then you driving home and you say, but by God, how can my car only got a 15-gallon tank? But he charged me for 30 gallons. Let me go back here. You go back there and you say, you explain the situation. And he becomes adamant. No. My pump said 30 gallons. But the inspection is that I only got a 15-gallon tank. That is the same situation here. And under normal circumstances, the police would get involved and an arrest would be effect, for obtaining that property by deception. Right?
At least some sort of investigation to determine what happened, and then if it's like you said, 30 gallons in a 15-gallon tank.
You basically doing is that the scenario is of such that if you only have a 15-gallon tank, it is impossible to put 30 gallons in it.
Right.
So these providers is telling you're getting X amount of speed, but you're not.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Albright cannot do anything about it.
Yeah.
So who does something about it?
Yeah. What can I ask you? Because that's a great question, right? And let's not leave it hanging. Let me ask this then. Just like Ofrig, we've heard oftentimes that the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, CIMA, likewise when it comes to the local banks here that we all go into and deposit our checks, get our mortgages, pay our loans and our credit cards and whatever we do with our banking, that it seems that the Monetary Authority has little or no sort of control or sanction or what have you, over them. So then, is it that when we've passed the laws and created these entities and the enforcement, monitoring, supervision, and whatever, that we just putting pen on paper, but it has no real value worth their teeth, whether it's off rig, whether it's the monetary authority, or whether it's something else. I mean, how many examples have we heard, or have we heard of other examples in the past where the law really has, no teeth? Is that the problem, that we're not putting it together properly?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that having laws is one thing, but affecting them is another. And I mean, especially when it comes to the banks, yes, SEMA seems not. I mean, the banks obviously don't regulate themselves. They obviously have to fall under the regulations that have been put in place by the Cayman Islands government via SEMA. So
we would think so, right?
it bothers you when you hear of them implementing fees, like to cash a check. Cashing a check is cashing a check is. But if you cash a check from there on that bank, I can understand if you take a check. Say, for example, you take a Butterfield check to Scotiabank. Yeah, and they're going to cash that out there for you, and they charge you. I understand that, no problem. But I don't think if I take a Scotiabank check to Scotiabank, that they should charge me to change one of their checks. I don't see that. I don't see that being right.
Yeah, but like you said too, I mean, it's not only these things happen, but it would seem that there's nobody that you can complain to, no organization. You think it's off rig because it has to do with, and you go, well, it's not us. You think it's banking, you go to the banking authority, in this case, the SEMA, and they say, no, it's not us. But then with that in mind too, just like the banks, and then come back to off rig and something else, just like the banks, if the bank in Cayman license, paying the fees to the Cayman Islands government through monetary authority or whatever, and however the fees are paid, says, you have a CI dollar mortgage. I think MLA as a miller has determined that mortgage is really no more than a demand loan. But, you borrowed money to build your house and buy your house, and the bank says, it was $100,000 Cayman Islands dollars, because that's the legal tender in the Cayman Islands, but we're now going to change the currency to US dollars. And if you don't accept it, well, too bad. So even something like that, where a currency like the US dollar that's widely and freely accepted and circulated, but isn't legally, legal tender, how can a banks do that without seemingly, any kind of approval or sanction? Or if you decide as a customer, no, I work in Cayman, I get paid in Cayman dollars, I don't want that. You have no recourse.
Exactly. I just hope that a lot of the things that's going on here. I mean, we enjoyed the bragging rights of saying that that we are the most expensive jurisdiction in the world to live in. Oh, what bragging rights they are, huh? I mean, and until we get people who's going to to regulate and make sure that these people are not constantly, price gouging, it ain't gonna get any better. People, it got to become very serious with it. It ain't gonna get any better.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Well, as we go break, right, and I appreciate you sharing, but as we go to the break, here's something that maybe others may want to consider, like SEMA, like off-rig, like other things. We just had information disclosed in our legislative assembly that the government now has, negotiated deals. Minister Hugh said it's commercially sensitive, so we can't make it known public. Well, it's public funds, public stuff, public elected people. Are we as a public, as voters, going to say, okay, that's fine, or should there be more inquiry? And will elected members of the House, who seem they should have more input, say, authority, and sway, what will they do? Again,
yep.
Do we sit on our hands? I appreciate you sharing that thought with us, my friend.
Okay, take care, dude.
Be safe out there, man. All right, let's pause and take a break. And they're coming quickly and fast, so let's duck and move. Be like Angelo Dundee, as he tells Muhammad Ali. So when we come back, more talk today. You got another call, Miss Susan? All right. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Okay. Well, see that boy. She's the boss. Hang on, please. Let's take the break.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Mommy, have you been taking your medication? No, I think I forgot to pick it up. Your doctor prescribed it for a reason, so you should be taking it regularly. I know, Chidi. Thanks for the reminder.
If you are elderly or vulnerable and need your prescription delivered to your home, contact the Health Services Authority Pharmacy at 949-8600. Taking your medication when prescribed is important to your health, and your health matters to us. For more information about our pharmacy hours and locations, visit hsa.ky or call 949-8600.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is open line 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. There's a WhatsApp somewhere there that you can, record a voice note and send it to us, so you can type it up, send it across, and we'll read it if that's what you wish. 925-3261. I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts with us. Give us your perspective. And as I shared earlier, it's wonderful that we have people who not only the news here, some have shared. It's much easier to find out more about what's happening in the world sometimes than it is to find out what's happening here. Not to find out more, but find out it much more quickly and equally. We have shared that sometimes even when you find something out about what's going on here, you really don't get to put it in the parlance of one lady, the full picture, the true sense of what's going on. With that, for instance, a number you have shared, since probably Saturday and overnight and into today, information coming out of Antigua, where the premier over there, the prime minister, he's talking about, making some adjustments to their sort of testing regime because the visitors are threatening to sue. Should they be allowed to be isolated and tested? That's against their rights. So the government over in Antigua will make some adjustments to its protocols. And of course, many of us were probably following the events in Hong Kong, some from the perspective of human rights, others from the impact that they may have on financial services there and globally, and even here as well. Recognizing the mainland government passing legislation. Now, one or two have made similar comments. Well, if that is happening in Hong Kong, even though Britain no longer controls Hong Kong, but there is still a strong relationship. Many in Hong Kong would, still describe themselves as, generationally connected to the UK. Well, what about the scenario in Cayman? Is it a case that we could see that happening here? Is it a case that with an implementation of an ID system, as some of you have questioned, will that lead to more than just having a national ID so that we would know our population and we can move about without having to really worry too much about, who's here because we have the ID? But will the IDs be in such a way that it could monitor and control under the guise now of, we were easy to trace if there was a pandemic, as some have called it? Not a question of just giving up freedoms of working in tandem. Is it more of sinister moves by totalitarian regimes that we've seen in other jurisdictions throughout the examples that history have provided for us? Again, it comes down to a populace that understands what's happening in this country, is involved, informed, and engaged. Again, the notion of civics. And then when you look at what is happening, you're not just registered to vote when you become eligible. You're participating in the democracy process through, offering yourselves as potential candidates, getting involved in the election of the candidates that you think represent the values that you want to see exhibited in our society. And that I think was very helpful. Just like we get involved in our PTAs or whatever they call these days in our schools, we get involved with our churches and our service clubs. We get involved in our communities in different ways. Well, being involved, engaged, and informed is very helpful because sometimes the politician, whether that's elected or self-appointed, the person who's trying to influence a certain outcome may have the best of intentions, may believe that this is the best way to do this thing. In the absence of us saying, but wait a minute, there is another way, or have you considered this particular consequence of this action? They may honestly have missed it, or may not have given it the same level of importance because from their perspective, it wasn't really something that they flagged. But when they're informed, well, two things immediately can happen. One is, well, they can't say they didn't know. And secondly, they can either accept it or ignore it. But if you don't know something, or if you're not impressed upon you of its impact, then sometimes we just can't point fingers and blame others if we're not equally willing to offer a very constructive critique, but a potentially viable alternative solution. 8949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. And the reason that I reference the ministers for planning's comments in the Legislative Assembly isn't just because the almost now innumerable comments I've received on it. It's twofold. It's the seemingly lack of willingness to publicly, say, hey, this is what I think, whether you're for or against it, and more importantly, the notion that it has led so much comment, speculation. Does this mean now that we'll have the iconic tower again, or will there be other concessions in relation to developing, environmentally sensitive areas? Will we see buildings that, as long as they are structurally sound, They can be built 50 stories or 150 stories. It doesn't really matter because there isn't any height restriction. Doesn't mean that when we develop certain areas that the density is this versus that ordinarily. Now, those things in and of themselves may sound like a bad thing, but maybe they're not. Is it, as some of you have questioned, well, the government is sort of down and out now. You shouldn't kick a man when he's down. But what if people seeing the opportunity and say, hey, well, if the government wants to kickstart the economy, we'll come along and we'll offer to do this. But in return, we need this. Now, it may seem like a good deal. It may be a good deal, but what if it ends up being that long term it's not a good deal for the country? Not only because of the impact on the environment or on the people and the social fabric, but maybe just financially. You're getting $2 now for something that you should have really have gotten 20, and down the road you realize that $2 is gone and it really wasn't worth anything. What do you think? Well, when we come back from our news break, it will continue to be open line as we want you to share your thoughts with us. 949-8037, or you can call us toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. And if you want, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. We certainly want you to be a part of our ongoing discussion. Normally at 1:30, we would have physicians and the like from the Health Services Authority. It was scheduled today, but if you recognize some of the jobs that sometimes we have to undertake, we get called away unexpectedly. If you're in health services, a nurse or doctor and the like, things happen, and whether it's an on-schedule meeting, whether it's hopefully in the cases that nothing that is life-threatening, but we have to be responsive and flexible. So that discussion will have to be rescheduled. The good side is there's more opportunity for us to talk publicly. So as we come back from the news, we want you to call and share your thoughts with us. Toll free at 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255, or 949-8037. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Unity Radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. There were 2 imported cases of COVID and 1 case of local transmission in Monday's results from 623 COVID-19 tests conducted over the past few days. Chief Medical Officer Dr. John Lee says the people were identified through the screening program and are not symptomatic. In international news, there is evident racial bias in the way football commentators refer to players of different skin colors. For lighter skin-toned players, 62.60% of praise was given for their intelligence and 60.40% of praise given for their work ethic, while 63.33% of criticism was towards darker skin-toned players. The U.S. has 4% of the world's population but 25 of its coronavirus cases. More than 125,000 people have died from COVID-19 in the U.S., and more than 2.5 million Americans have been infected. Nearly 80% of deaths occur in people over age 65, resulting in more Americans having died from coronavirus than in wars in Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Astronomers have been baffled by the disappearance of a massive star they had been observing. They now wonder whether the distant object collapsed to form a black hole without exploding in a supernova. If correct, it would be the first example of such a huge stellar object coming to the end of its life in this manner. It is located some 75 million light-years away in the Kinman dwarf galaxy in the constellation of Aquarius. Those are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our talk today. It's open line 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. And if you were able to hear the briefing on Friday, the Honorable Premier referenced that there's not much need now to continue on a daily basis. So they're probably going to go to every week with the next one scheduled for this Friday. He also shared that the Legislative Assembly would be in session as well. So get a chance to hear more through elected members, hopefully, participating in the debate and sharing. And then we either by listening directly when it's broadcast live on Breeze, our sister station, or it's rebroadcast on Radio Cayman, or even, we somehow follow it in the news media generally. Well, we get to be informed. But as a caller quickly during the break shared with me, he said, well, I wonder how best to repeat how he said. He said that, like it or not, people don't say many things publicly because there is still a real fear of them being sanctioned. Translate, punish, for making comments. He said to me, it was not that he intended it to sound like a threat to me. I didn't take it as such as I told him. But even my comments and questions as trying to facilitate discussion, encourage, evocative and provocative sometimes comments, as they may be, could I be sanctioned? Well, yeah, we all are at some point. But the question is, at the end of the day, are you going to go down for what you did or for what you didn't do? It's just a matter of, I guess, perspective and persuasion, but also disposition. And if our society isn't willing to stand and do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, then I don't know. Can we expect others to come as gallant shining armor to rescue us? We have to stand in the gap. With that, I read partially a message sent to me in relation to, well, this one says, good afternoon. The port deal generated in many of us a sense of civic pride and a need to nationally participate in the debate and the agenda setting. We saw, sorry, I skipped that little part there, and then it says, we saw that the people can influence the government's decision if they will only actively and vocally participate. And then it talks a little bit about, this COVID-19 thing, gives some personal view, references a few other articles, some of which I've actually read. Those articles, for the most part, they reference three. I read two of them previously. Were talking, about how things were transpiring and questioning whether it was more of an issue of, never let good crisis go to waste. That's just a bit. The third one I didn't read, and there wasn't sufficient time to read it during a break. And even though this person's view fairly involved, I appreciate him taking the time to share. The article that was sent to me, or the message that was sent, continues by reading that as a public, we just can't, one, constantly get in the way of the elected government trying to move the country forward, but then we can't sit blindly by and just let things go, sort of unchecked. The balance is to find that happy medium where we trust our elected government to do the right thing, but we are sufficiently involved and informed to ensure that the government understands that it will be sanctioned, not just at the next general election, but presumably, beforehand. The public needs to stop commenting irresponsibly and anonymously, and instead start to publicly champion. The question is, though, will there be reprisals for so doing? But there were other comments in there, and I think the writer would appreciate in this context. I can probably weave them into another discussion later on. But what do you think about what that person shares? Now, is it a case that in this instance, knowing who it is makes it more important, or just hearing the words? Well, which do you think? And the reason I ask that is that oftentimes, we don't heed the message because we are quick to discredit the messenger. Is it that we see many of us as obstructionists? We're just there, whether we were, in the sort of political fold or whether we're just a member of the public. We just want to object. Or is it that we see people who have constantly been beating, the rug in front of the house, trying to get our attention, warning as it is that if we continue on this path, if we're not mindful of this would happen. That we hear them so often that we no longer heed what they're trying to say, how they become hoarse, that their voice no longer carry any significant weight. Well, what do you think? Or is it that we don't see John or Mary or Peter or Paul or the other stalwarts that we champion or revere saying anything, so we must believe then that if they're not making any comments about it, that it must be okay, because if it wasn't, they would speak up. And I share that because during the break, I said to the caller, that's potentially what is happening. We look to these leaders, these people in our community, the people that we have, hold in high esteem. And in the absence of they say, not saying anything publicly, then many of us maybe say, well, it can't be too bad, because if it is, they won't let anything like that happen. Now, as he shared, well, we don't know that they're not saying anything. They may be privately whispering in the ears of the politicians, their colleagues that they interact with because of their positions, trying to influence them. But at the end of the day, are they willing to go against the green if it means that they no longer will see the green as it is? They may lose out. So, why fight a losing battle? Your thoughts? 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp if you so choose, 925-3261. Either way, we want to hear from you. One of the other sort of interesting speculative comments, as was shared with us, the lady called, we had a conversation earlier, she sent through a few points for us to read, and she shared that in our conversation that it becomes very obvious when an election sort of fever starts to hit. She says, she's been around a number of elections, and you could watch the transition. It used to be that it'd be a few months before election, and then it used to be a case that the Christmas before election, it was not a problem. You may have, in some cases, in the early days, almost a year before the next election, when it used to be the even year for those of us who recall that. And then when it was changed to the odd year, then you have, less than 6 months. But the fever and the whole feeling of the place would change. What she says now, it's almost as if it's campaigning every day and in everything. And not just on the part of those who are elected or even those who want to get elected, but the voters as well. She realizes that politicians sometimes constantly beating up because they're perceived as giving handouts or trying to buy and influence voters. But she says, having worked closely, and she named the politician, she says, you don't realize that they see a lot more. They know, some of the ins and outs, not just because of their positions or the fact that they've been there a while or they managed to gain a level of trust, but voters share and they try to, as elected members, help as best as they can. But in the absence of the voter taking ownership and being responsible to some extent, for our own lives, then, what position are we putting the politicians in? She shared that, yes, she is being defensive of some of the things that politicians do because she's seen it firsthand. But she shares that increasingly we've passed a lot of laws, whether it's to give a semblance that we have transparency and integrity in the system, but we don't seem to necessarily enforce the laws. Or we have debate in the legislative assembly, but it doesn't translate into anything actionable. Or we may have something happen, but nobody is really held accountable. And if we were to look at it, those of us who live here, follow the news that happens here, may either have the perspective that we are a first world nation. People are, affluent. There's little or no poverty. People who want a job can get a job. They're paid well, and there's really nothing happening. But is that the perception that those who either looking from the outside and seeing, or people who've come here and in short order, they may see something differently? And have we ever asked ourselves, what is it that they're seeing? Do they see poverty or do they see wealth? Do they see an educated, literate society, or do they see one that can't really hold a job, no skill sets, and the like? And worse, do they see politicians who are competent, and credible, and ethical, and honorable, or do they see potentially politicians, and not, she says, only those that are elected, but the hangers on, as she puts it, who are, perhaps inviting an element of influence. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Ah, wow. You speak of the angel and she appears. How are you? How are you?
I'm the angel you spoke about.
Yes, I referenced you earlier in relation to, I must share, I said it yesterday, but I'm very grateful. The conversation on civics. I don't know if it's because of all that is happening around the world and people are realizing that, we talk about celebrating different events in history because we know how these democracies, because people fought in wars to defend their freedoms, and then with all that happening, people being locked up in their homes and on the house arrest, and all these things uh, make people appreciate their freedom a lot more. And then you're telling us about civics and the importance of understanding what's happening in the country and our need, our obligations as people to get involved in what's going on, not just the political side of things, but being part of a healthy, society. So I appreciate it. But you're here with us again, so thank you for calling. Glad you have a little time in your day.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. And God bless you, Cayman Islands. We all have a role to play in driving the country forward. We are not all politicians, we are not all gardeners, we are not all doctors, but we all have a role to play. And a part of playing that role is offering our insight, our opinion, sharing our concerns as part of a community group, calling in on the radio, writing a letter to the newspaper, sending a text to your politicians, expressing yourself according to the freedom that has been extended to you through the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And when I tuned in just now, you were talking about, and I had to just catch a little piece of the show, right? So,
thank you.
You do a great job. You do. You're a very thought-provoking individual.
Thank you.
About anonymous speakers, and I think let me start at the beginning of what I want to say about anonymous speakers. There's a particular website here where people voice their comments. Their comments on any topic. But we always post it on the, I'm just going to talk a little bit that I've pulled over, but I just didn't do a better job.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So thinking that posting under the name anonymous is freedom of speech, it isn't. It isn't, because there's no register in this country where you're going to find an individual named anonymous. You won't find them. on a birth certificate. You won't find them on a death certificate, a marriage certificate. You won't find anonymous on a voter's registration list. Your freedom to speak is a human right. And speaking your opinion becomes attributable to you because you have identified yourself. The fact that people shroud themselves in the secrecy of anonymity is a good indicator that we don't understand or that we are very afraid of freedom of speech to retributions that may come as a result of that. How do we overcome that? We overcome that through being brave and embracing our freedom to speak. You see, the more of us that cover in the darkness leaves the few that's up in the light as open targets. The more of us that come out from behind that cloud of secrecy and speak openly, then what those who were being the snipers before come to realize is this: there's a whole lot more than what it is of me, right?
There's not only strength and safety in numbers. Okay.
Yes, strength and safety in numbers, and politicians they're very much aware of how society behaves. You see, if they didn't know it before they went in there, they know it after they got in there. And as long as you can see the division amongst us, where you have those who are afraid to speak, because posting an anonymous comment is not very helpful for individuals, because you don't get enough ownership of it. Honestly speaking, whatever you say, you should be proud to say it. All right.
Stand behind what you say. Yeah.
Sorry.
Stand behind what you say.
And stand behind what you say. Whatever it is that you feel that you have the right to say, state it proudly, state it respectfully, and own it. You can't own it under the name of anonymous. Okay? Right. Now let's say that the post that you make impacts me profoundly, and I can identify with some of the contents of your post, and I've been looking for an individual to embark on this journey with me to bring a particular change. Or what it has done is it has hampered the ability for us to act together in a unified community, because how am I supposed to contact anonymous?
Right. I hear what you're sharing, but if I could then ask, in defense of what, I guess people, why they've opted to post their comments in an anonymous way. Some believe, that those are, public servants or people who are married to public servants, the civil service, and so they can't. But first thing, and I hope I'm not betraying any confidence like this, but a number of people, take for instance the call just during the break and some of the messages I've received. These are people over time I've get to know a little bit, and they work either for themselves, they're employed in the private sector in some capacity. They're not talking about their employer, but they may be talking about their sector. And their comments generally are very constructive, very respectable. I mean, haven't had oftentimes where people call and they use profanity in their discussions with me. It happens, but not often. But they are afraid to post or call a talk show or say anything and put their names to it or even their voices out of fear that their jobs, their livelihoods may be affected. And I say that again, it's not just people in the public sector. There are people in the private sector, self-employed, as well as middle management, senior management, all aspects of the organization. So is that fear that people have just a perception and it causes them to be somehow paralyzed? Or is it a real fear because they've seen the example, maybe it happened to them or people they know, and they say, hey, you don't do this. If not, there's going to be a consequence. So if that is the case, then how do we address that?
Okay. So I think let's take it from the public servant point first. Okay. Being a public servant cannot, and it does not bar your freedom of expression. Now, what you have to do is, as a public servant, you have to understand that there's a professional standard that you have to live up to. I think the ideal person that should have that conversation publicly, perhaps right on the same very radio station, on this very topic, is the Deputy Governor himself. Maybe it's time for him to come forward and to explain the limitations of civil servants and in their positions in comparison to their constitutional rights. I do know that he did issue that guideline for civil servants about petition signing, which and created a flow chart that went along to say, you know, if it are you in this particular type of position, key employee position, chief officers and so on. And, you know, another one of the questions was, is this going to put you in direct conflict with your head of department and so on? I would encourage you to invite the Deputy Governor to come on the show and to lay out quite clearly, quite plainly, the rights of public servants to speak and when they are not supposed to speak. And I know that there are instances, matters that of national security and so on, that they have barriers to speech in the best interest of the country. But when you start, when you play as best interest of the country, besides the right to speak and the right to self-determination and to play a role in guiding the country, who better to offer input about the direction forward by government than a government worker? They live it, they work it, they should have their freedom to speak about it respectfully. So, and to offer solutions and you know, effective comments, not to bash and bombard the government and to speak incite treason or insurrection or anything of the sort.
Right.
To contribute in a solutionist sort of way. Then we look at the private sector angle of things, right? Now, if we here in a free society are worried about the repercussions of speaking openly, then the question is, are we living in a free society? Because if you're worried about, and I know that the worry is very, very genuine, because we have witnessed it happen. We know people who it has happened to, right? So then, are we living in a free society, or are we living in a restricted state? Are we living in a dictatorship, or are we living in a, for the want of a better definition, a mafia state, where you can't speak and say certain things and be associated with certain people because the outcome for you is going to be economically disastrous, right? But the more we chisel away at that, the more people that begin to come forward, the more change we bring to that atmosphere. And as long as we cower about it, right, why not form groups of people who share the same view? Because there is strength and safety in numbers. And so we find people who share the same view and say, listen, let's all speak about this on this day. You know?
Well, see, this is why I appreciate you sharing it, because it gives us the idea that civics extends to just more than maybe a class lesson about, you know, who's elected and so on. But if I can, and guide me, because I'm just sort of looking at a couple of other comments that came through. Just take what transpired in the Legislative Assembly. We see the Minister Hugh saying that, you know, it's planning, government is looking at development deals, but it's commercially sensitive. But if we have the opposition leader, which is a constitutionally recognized position, in the flow of the Legislative Assembly, and I say this carefully but deliberately, there's a push now to have that called a parliament, when it's really not, as I understand, a parliament, an independent body. This is a little borough council, but probably not even that much, right? Because it's still subject to ultimate control, by the UK. Not an independent nation, so it's not a parliament. If the opposition leader, or if the other members of the Legislative Assembly can't demand answers, can't get answers, isn't asking in the Legislative Assembly where there's privileges and immunities, or isn't, in the media or in the public or whatever, could it be then that the general populace would say, well, if they can't do anything in the position that they have, what do you expect me to do? Me being the fire clerk, me being the general manager, whatever, right?
Right. And see, there are two options available to the general public. That is, you can look at it and you can say, the opposition in their elected capacity with the power that they have was unable to solicit a satisfactory answer, and therefore, what can I do about it? Or we can look at it and we can say the opposition in their elected capacity with the constitutional and parliamentary powers that they have were unable to solicit an answer. So guess what happened? I elected Joey Hugh. I'm going to find out. Sorry, let me give her respect. I elected the Honorable Mr. Joey Hugh.
Well, you could say yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to contact him directly because I need an answer to this question, because I don't understand what this commercially sensitive response really means. And if you're inside a House of Parliament, right, and you discuss the business that pertains to this country, you check a registered voters list. I'm on there. I'm entitled to an answer. And
the question is, right, I do recognize we have a break, but the question is then, when it comes to government, generally, and I'm not going to speak about any other governments anywhere else in the world, this is the one that affects me, this is where I live, right? So in Cayman, if the government is conducting business on behalf of the people and spending the public money, right, the taxpayers' money, then really, should there be anything that is secret,
No, Dwayne, and honestly speaking, I'm going to contact him to ask him, where in the law do you find this thing that this law, this parliamentary power that we dance around issues and questions posed on the floor behind the thing of commercial sensitivity. That is the public money you're dealing with. It is a question being asked not in a press conference by CNS or Cayman Railroad or Talk Today or any of the radio shows by which you can sidestep it and pull up that veil and say, oh, commercially sensitive. This is questions being posed on the House, on the floor of the Legislative Assembly, right? Now, if we can't have open discussion and there we have a serious democratic problem. And I, as a citizen of this country, am going to play my role, because I'm going to start asking some questions and demanding some answers. And I encourage other registered voters to do the same thing. Because when they turn around and they come back and they say that Department of Children and Family Services are unable to assist the poor family in your neighborhood, and NAU is lacking because an NAU is lacking of resources, all right, because the budget does not allow for it. But then you went and spent however much money, and you can't get an answer to it. You get a lot of reports, and so you can't even find out how much money you spent to get legal advice on an issue. But yet you're going to turn around, you're going to tell me that the social needs of the country can't be met because we're lacking of resources, but I can't even challenge you to whether or not you spent my money in the right way. I don't swallow that. That's too jagged to swallow to me.
Yeah, well, something that you raised the other day that has inspired me to inquire, given that we publicly, especially listen to the PSAs during this exercise that we all are going through. Let's make sure we look after elderly and the vulnerable, right? But you talked about caregivers, and there's a policy, either through Synico or somewhere in government, that you can't, a family member can't be paid to look after, family members, or a child can't be paid to look after their aging parents or what have you. Who's going to love, in my mind, a parent more than a child? I mean, I would hope that's the case normally, right? But why is there a policy like that? You're going to hire a stranger, irrespective of how competent and qualified, maybe how loving and nurturing. You would think. again, I don't like to make assumptions all the time because they come back to bite me. But you will think, man, that when it comes to your parents, you're gonna love them and honor them as best as you can and treat them with the greatest care and attention. Um, so I have to inquire about that because I did not fully appreciate that that was in fact some sort of law or policy or what have you. Um, Again, things that we don't know because we don't share publicly. We don't, as you said, comment and put a name to it. If we hide it behind anonymous, if I didn't know it was you that said it, then how would I be able to contact you to get more information to join you, as you shared, right, to promote this thing? Let's continue.
Yes.
We have the break to take. You're just instructive, man. You're very inspiring.
Thank you very much. And I hope that I am inspiring other Caymanians to speak up and to become active civically with their civic duties. We have the responsibility to drive this country forward in the best direction for this country. And we have a role to play in that. And we can no longer leave it to pastors and politicians because we have our role to play also.
As ordinary people, right? There you go. With extraordinary insight. But something you just said reminds me of a thought in relation to my view when it comes to Radio Cayman, but maybe I'll share that during a break. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you very much, Mom. Anytime you want to call, you do ready. Just feel welcome. All right? Go right ahead.
Thank you. And I will share more about the cynical policy sport perhaps tomorrow.
Thank you, Mom. God bless. All right. Well, let's pause and take a break. Remember, there's no briefing today, so we can talk all the way to 2:30. Maybe till tomorrow if you want. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Oh gosh.
Don't let the stress of taking care of loved ones get you down.
Home care, now made easier with Cayman Medical Supplies. 100% Caymanian owned. Cayman Medical Supplies now stocks a wide range of home care supplies. Hospital beds, all types of wheelchairs, including beach access wheelchairs, lifts, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, Curad brand orthopedic supplies. Free blood glucose monitors with the purchase of 1 pack of test strips, blue underpads, and a whole lot more.
Need home care convenience? Drop by Cayman Medical Supplies at 93 Smith Road, Windward Center, or call 949-6211. Free delivery.
We know there has been a lot of changes, and Cayman Medical Supplies is here for the community. From gloves and sanitizers to mandatory supplies, including masks. Hours are now Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. till noon. Free delivery island-wide.
We are here for you. Whether you are in extreme financial need, have lost your job, have been directly or indirectly affected by the pandemic, we are here. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan is here to assist through the Cayman Islands Government Emergency Withdrawal Program. To withdraw, visit chamberpension.ky and complete the online application form by filling in your personal details, the amount you wish to withdraw, and upload a notarized government ID such as your passport or driver's license. For information as it happens, visit chamberpension.ky or follow our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We thank you for your patience as we address the high volume of email and phone queries. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. You can count on us. The Economics and Statistics Office are currently conducting the annual business surveys. The surveys seek to measure the performance of all local industries. Survey forms for this year are mailed or emailed to all entities operating in the Cayman Islands. The business surveys are confidential under the Statistics Law and are exempt from the Freedom of Information Law. Your response matters. Do your part. Fill out and return your survey forms to the Economics and Statistics Office. For assistance in filling out the forms or for more information, visit eso.ky or call 525-8565 or 325-6652.
Travel between the three Cayman Islands remains restricted until further notice. Persons may only travel between Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman to provide essential services or for emergency medical purposes. Persons traveling between any of the three islands may do this by contacting BRAC Travel at gov.ky with the details of their proposed travel, including purpose of visit, length of stay, accommodations, etc. Applications will be processed on a case-by-case basis. All individuals traveling to the sister islands from Grand Cayman must undergo a 14-day mandatory isolation period at a government facility. They will be tested on the 15th day, and direct transportation to the airport will be arranged if they have a negative result.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And even though it may look rainy and cloudy outside, it may even be raining where you are, it doesn't mean that there are dark clouds everywhere. We can still see the sun, peeking through, and we need to make sure there's a sense of sunshine and transparency, responsibility and accountability. Not just because the clouds are dark that you have to be gloomy. Not just because it's night, it doesn't have to be that we shine brightly. 8949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. Share your thoughts with us. And just because we're talking about politicians and politics and discussions and debates within our Legislative Assembly doesn't mean that it has to be vitriolic, nor that it has to be quote unquote political or politically motivated or driven. It just means that we're wondering to what extent there is a semblance of public participation and people, if you permit the word, demanding openness, accountability, transparency. The things that we heard championed for so long that they perhaps become cliches now, words that have little or no meaning, they're just empty, they're repeated, nobody pays any heed. There's no need to take them to account because they have nothing anymore. Well, that would be unfortunate. We don't want to become so despondent, act in a way because everything for us now, there's just a sense of despair. Well, hope, my friends, can propel us to great things. Well, what are you hoping for? 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. I had a comment came through probably about 20 minutes ago, 25 minutes ago. You may have seen it in the press release. It was mentioned in our headline news at 1 that there were 3 positive, cases yesterday, 2 from travelers. This comment asks, well, traveling from whom? How? What do we know about it? And the person said, a number of, I'm trying to read this, a number of the cases so far that have been tested positive are people who have come back to the shores. Do we know any more about this? I tried to respond to the person asking some information, but nothing as yet. Only to perhaps understand the perspective. I don't wish to infer, and I certainly don't wish to create any kind of inflammatory comments, but if I were to read into what was expressed, is there a natural and understandable concern? Is it that perhaps we're not quite sure of how the information is? So as people are coming back, I believe the comment is asking, well, are we now, as we bring people back, increasing the probability of whether there's a different strain or not, whether it's, more of a chance of it running out and about in the community? What would that mean if and when the borders are open in September or December or whenever? How do we manage that? And I want to ask that as I look to the news coming out of Antigua, where its political leadership is now saying, well, their tourists are threatening to sue the government over its impact on their rights to be swabbed in quarantine and the like. So there are going to be some changes to their protocols over in Antigua. Well, I guess this whole scenario has been nicely termed as unprecedented, but there have been pandemics before. Um, how are we responding now with more technology? Is it as some have shared that we have taken the whole scenario and blown it out of proportion globally? Creating great fear by the media frenzy and the political despots globally, and the economic exploits of some just to increase their own fortunes. I don't know. What do you think? 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255 and share your thought. And I want to share it because I think increasingly it's evident that if we're going to be a truly quote unquote educated and informed society, we got to question things. We can always do so in a very civilized way. We can even engage in some, heatedly, sort of contested discussions without it resulting in a good academic exercise. But maybe there'll be actionable outcomes where people can say, hey, this makes sense. We should do this or we should stop doing that, as it were. Look at the behaviors of ourselves globally, the way we interact with others. Perhaps we will finally heed the words of Bob Marley when he says, not until the color of man's skin is no more important than the color of his eyes. Maybe we'll get to that point where we no longer look at people because of their ethnicity, maybe even where they're from or their economic sort of origins. Perhaps we still see that women, for instance, suffering more and more despite the so-called advances in legislation. The United Nations has produced another report, and that in and of itself highlights a number of things that perhaps we haven't as yet, as a world, looked at, in a degree of being, as they shared, more and more of an informed, enlightened world. And when we think of our children globally, will they inherit a land that is safe for them to move about? Will there be opportunities for them to continue to develop not just the physical landscape, but to enjoy the things that exist? We look and hear oftentimes that there are many species that no longer exist because we've driven them to extinction, whether we've hunted or some other exploited the resources that are around us. And if we continue at that pace, well, what is it that's going to happen not just for our children and their children, but perhaps for us in 10 years or 50 years? God's willing, we're still around. Doesn't mean that we don't enjoy the fruits of our labor and that we don't sometimes indulge in the luxuries of life, but maybe we do so with moderation and with a measured approach, that we see things as needed attempts on our part to be better stewards of the resources. But maybe we start by treating each other with a great sense of respect. Now, with that, I think we could also include that we hold them accountable, whether they have been elected or appointed, or whether they've been sort of self-elevated or we've put them on a pedestal ourselves. Now, sometimes the best thing that we can do for others is to give them instruction and guidance. Well, what's on your mind? 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Is it as this comment shared? We just wait until election to silently cast our ballots. Well, maybe we'll talk about that after this quick break. So please stay tuned and join us after the break.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Applications are invited for a 4-year scholarship to pursue any program of study leading to a bachelor's degree at Northern Caribbean University, NCU, in Mandeville, Jamaica. The scholarship, valued at $25,000, is available for the 2021 academic year and will cover tuition, books, and board. Scholarship applicants must first have a place in an academic program at NCU. Deadline for scholarship application is July 17th. Caymanians who are interested in receiving the scholarship may contact the NCU Cayman chapter at 938-2209 or email ncu.kyalumni@gmail.com.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken chair.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken chair.
I am not a chicken.
Whoa! I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh.
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me?
The new chicken share from KFC. Just $12 each. And it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
Healthcare Pharmacy cares about your health throughout COVID-19 regulations. Our Grand Harbor location is open from Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Our Governor Square Pharmacy on 7 Mile Beach is open from Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Please ensure you wear a mask when entering our pharmacies and practice safe distancing. Call ahead to refill your prescriptions or go to www.healthcarepharmacy.ky to refill and transfer prescriptions online. You can also WhatsApp your refill or transfer 329-7313. Your Radio Cayman 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit www.caymannational.com for up-to-date information for all your financial needs and follow us on social media.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate the opportunity to not just talk with you, but to listen and to hear what you have to say. And increasingly, I think it's more and more of us finding courage. We recognize the importance of sharing. Still, as the caller off air quickly relayed, some people just choose to be anonymous because they rather, as she shared, rather people hear what is being said than to pay attention to who's saying it. And I'll say what she said to you in a second, but give us your perspective. 949-8037 or a toll-free call with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. The lady of the call quickly asked the question, do we know of any examples where people have been victimized as a result of their public sort of stance? Now, she says she's obviously aware that political hopefuls and former politicians have shared that they've had a challenging time when they lose office in order to maintain a certain semblance of input and livelihood and the like. Now, barring those, what do you think? Is it that we're just making, this duppy into reality when there's really no boogerman at all out there? They're just figments of our imagination. Now, if, as our question sort of asks us to consider, even if there is, this intimidation, do we go back to the caller prior who said, well, there's safety and security in a number. And if this thing happened, is happening, and is expected that it will happen, if it's not addressed and we don't do something about it, then it may have happened to our parents and their parents. But do we want it to continue to happen to our children and their children and their children? Again, I go back to the sentiment expressed earlier by someone who was making a comment. When we look at Cayman, if we're living here and been here for a long time, we're connected to it, do we see the same sort of things that people see who only come here for a bit or who only look and know about Cayman from observing from outside? Do they see poverty when we see affluence? Do they see society that is not necessarily the most competent employees, or do we see the challenges as they see them, or are they seeing them in a way that we perceive that there's jealousy? Now, the question is, how honest and objective can we be when we look at things? As some say, when you're so close, to the situation, can you still be objective and impartial in assessing what is there? And when you do, question or comment, will people see it as a meaningful attempt to make things better, or will they see it as, sour grapes? You have an axe to grind, whatever the terms that we ascribe to people who perhaps are not seeing the same things that everybody else is saying for whatever reason. Well, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. You can either use the toll-free line if you want, or if you prefer, well, 949-8037. Either way, it works for us. One of the other sort of quick comments that was shared with us from one of our commenters, people tend to sort of dismiss things often, and this individual asked the question simply, will direct taxation be inevitable? That's a simple question. Referring to Cayman, ask the question, will direct taxation be inevitable? Now, not necessarily to say that this is what this person is inferring or that we engage in a discussion. But as I read that question earlier and read it out loud again, is it that we are looking at what has happened with all the demands on government recently? We're seeing people who lost their jobs in many instances, because of what transpired globally and then actions of our own elected government locally, trying their very best to manage things in a way to protect and preserve life. If that was the narrative, then the actions that were taken could seem to be, in the outset, for the initial time frame, to be reasonable. Many of us were very, very compliant. We are still very much trying to do as much as we can to ensure our continued safety and the safety of those with whom we interact. Many of us are, for the first time, probably recognizing that we didn't necessarily practice the most hygienic manner when we were interacting, hand washing and the like, whether we were preparing food to sale or whether we were preparing food for ourselves. Perhaps many of us didn't appreciate that there were many things that we could and should be doing differently and better. But then, as this question asks, will direct taxation be inevitable? Will the government now, as a result of the demands for sort of social assistance, help people with food and those who become unemployed? They've lost their jobs because which they're in no longer exists, or their employer to date, had a number of staff and no longer has need for that many. So people are out of work. They're facing potentially loss of their homes. They're unable to pay their running water and the electricity and the like. Perhaps they're challenged to even put food on the table, as hard as it was before. Now, as another sentiment was expressed to us, still yet not sure how to read or to share this, because on one hand, it is, I think, inflammatory, but on the other, it can prove to be not just, evocative and provocative. It can cause us to look. All right, Ms. Susan says we have a opportunity for a quick call. Let's do that. Good afternoon, welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, how are you, man? How are you?
I'm fine. It's raining and something good.
That's good, man. That's good.
Drinking my coffee and smoking my cigar, so I'm fine.
One day maybe I'll join you. Not necessarily to do either, but maybe to talk personally.
I tell you,
Right.
Dwayne, two issues here. The first thing, the issue of the pension money. And I think a lot of people withdraw their money. And that is why Western Union is busy all the time. So whenever you go any supermarket, you find Western Union is very busy, people sending money. The purpose of people, taking their pension money to survive because they are not working. And the government allowed them to stay in the country because they are taking their pension money to spend it in the economy. And we know that business, especially small business, is suffering. So my suggestion that government close down the Western Union for 2 months or 3 months at least. So nobody can send money anywhere unless they allow to receive money, not to send money.
Yeah. Hello?
But you see, not the purpose those people are taking their pension money to send it home. Somebody will tell me they have families, and yes, and we here have families, and businesses have families too. And the people working in those businesses have families too, right? And mostly local people need their business to bloom. So we have to, I think the government need to take something, do something, because millions of dollars from this pension money are going overseas and they're not staying in Cayman.
Right. If I could maybe respectfully ask you, I want to hear what you have to say. It looks like it's the news and time now. Are you able to hang on and then we can talk more after the news break?
Yes.
Okay, yes, sir. Please do that, and thank you for being so amenable. All right, let's pause, and when we come back, we'll continue with this discussion.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. There was a second reading for the Births and Deaths Registration Amendment Bill on Monday afternoon in Parliament. The amendment is designed to allow for electronic registration of births. The bill gives the Registrar General permission to exempt a person from having to sign in person and allows for an approved electronic method of submission. In international news, a new strain of flu that has the potential to become a pandemic has been identified in China by scientists. It emerged recently and is carried by pigs, but can infect humans, they say. The researchers are concerned that it could mutate further so that it can spread easily from person to person and trigger a global outbreak. While it is not an immediate problem, they say, it has all the hallmarks of being highly adapted to infect humans and needs close monitoring. As it's new, people could have little or no immunity to the virus. Health officials across the U.S. have expressed growing concern about the nation's ability and willingness to slow or end the coronavirus pandemic. As Centers for Disease Control and Prevention experts said on Monday, the U.S. has way too much virus to control. The EU has decided that from Wednesday, EU borders will be reopened to citizens from 15 non-EU countries, but not the US, Brazil, and Russia. The so-called safe travel destinations are China, Algeria, Australia, Canada, Georgia, Japan, Montenegro, Morocco, New Zealand, Rwanda, Serbia, South Korea, Thailand, Tunisia, and Uruguay. The UK and 4 other non-EU states, Switzerland, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, are automatically included as safe. Those are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Green Turtle. Modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today, it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And good afternoon, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And just before the break, we had the opportunity to start a conversation with one of our callers. Thank you so much for holding on. As you were sharing, sir?
Yes, good afternoon again, Bill.
And to you, thank you very much.
So, Dwayne, this issue of people are taking their pension money and sending it home and then sit down here without money, or they spend most of it sending home. I think the government needs to put a condition for you as a person to withdraw certain amount of your pension money. You should not to send, like maybe they allow you send 20%, 10%, whatever percent. But I mean, it's not all the money, because you being allowed to stay in Cayman, you are not working. Maybe you are in a work permit, and majority of those people who terminated from work, they still sitting here. How they survive, where they bring money from, unless they take their pension money and they spend it in the economy. And that's how businesses will survive until we start see tourists come back to Cayman. So I think it's unfair that for the country that they allow you, because the situation, to withdraw from your pension, at least spend this money in the economy so people can survive and the economy can survive and we all can survive this crisis. Then, we hear about second wave of coronavirus coming to some countries like Australia. Now they are going to go again in lockdown in Australia because of the second wave of coronavirus. So we don't want to see second wave of coronavirus in Cayman. The government did a great job. I really was surprised how great job they done. And I truly thank them for their stand, for their people. They closed down everything just to protect the people. And we need to pass this crisis, cooperation from foreigners and Caymanians, and we all living under the same sky. So we need to see those people who take in their pension spend this money in the economy so the economy could survive. The second thing, Dwayne, very important, is the issue of transportation. You see, the problem in Cayman now, people want to go to their work, who is working, or people want to go, somewhere to shop or to buy food. The buses, not, for example, going to the Eastern District is a serious problem. You ask the bus driver, for example, you buy Countryside Village, you go into towards Eastern District. No, they go in only Bodin Town, and they coming back. And also they broken the law because the law allows them to carry 8 passengers. They carry the full amount of bus. Not all the driver, but some of them, especially number 9, the orange bus, dark blue bus, north side bus. This guy is always broken the law, always behaving bad, and I tired of reporting him to the transport board, and this director of transport board is asleep. He don't know what is going on in his department. I think Mr. Manderson need to bring somebody who can manage this department. The people working there, majority of them have no clue what is going on with these buses. They can't even talk to the drivers. Some of them, they're just sitting in that room across the public library, in that room, playing all day in the phone, and didn't even look in which bus going out or which bus going on, and all day playing in the phone. It is ridiculous. The government don't have money to pay those people for doing nothing. They are doing nothing. In reality, they are not doing the good job they should be doing. And those drivers, they're becoming worse and worse every day. And the issue of public transport the Premier need to change the board because the public transport board is a failure. The board members are not doing no action against any driver from long time. Thousands of complaints from people are sitting in the computers of the public transport department, and there is no action being taken. If you go in that computer, you will find 2,000-3,000 complaints, not action being taken for them. For example, I filed 20 complaints, and none of those complaints being answered. They just take the complaint and put it in the computer, and that's it. No action more. So we need to see that the Premier change the board and Mr. Manderson change the director of public transport and start changing, and the members of legislation assembly start changing the laws which allow the inspectors to have the power of police to give a ticket to the driver so they can behave themselves. And can't allow one nationality to control the public transport. You can't just allow every bus driver to bring his cousin to drive a next bus and they all behaving like they are a gang. And it's become a serious problem in Cayman.
I think your point is taken. It sort of reflects an earlier caller's point when it comes to off-rig, or as we're talking about, SEMA or the like. We have entities. Are they, able to enforce the areas that fall under their jurisdiction? So I hear your point, man. Maybe it'll be addressed properly now. But I appreciate your sentiments, man. Thanks for sharing with us, and keep up the public's, sort of view of keeping us informed. All the best to you, my friend. All right, with that, let's take the other caller. Be safe. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you today?
Oh, man. Blessed and thankful. And you?
Yeah, the same. Blessed and thankful, man. We have to be,
Yep.
Yep. I trust your family is all well, too.
Thank God, man. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
We are. And trust and pray, seeing for you and yours.
Yes, thank you, they are. Calling in response to the last caller, but only on the issue regarding taking the pensions and send them overseas.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I don't understand why, for some reason, he has a problem with people taking their own money and sending them back where they want it. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why he thinks that we, as an outside entity, because we're not a man's family, we're not an employer, nothing, can make a judgment and say you shouldn't send your money back to your family when it's their money. I mean, he's talking about it leaving the Cayman economy, but the fact is, it's not in the Cayman economy right now because the pension plans don't invest it in locally.
So it was never here, right?
It's never here. From the time, it was this person, whoever the person is, received a salary payment, and the money was made. The payment was made to the pension plan. It's not in Cayman anymore. I mean, unless a minute part of it is in CUC stock, which, I mean, that's pretty much not in Cayman either.
But I hear your point, right? But
so I just think it's real arrogant for us to say that you can't take your money and send it off. Don't send it off. Don't send it off. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm a born and bred multi-generational Caymanian, right? I would like to see every Caymanian have a job, and I know the issue about, well, this job could be filled by Caymanian and all that stuff. I'm attuned to that, and I agree with a lot of those things. But this person, whoever has received the pension, has worked for the money. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the pension money.
Let me, if I can, I hear your point. May I ask just two questions? And firstly, if you were, based on your assessments and just your own perspective, if you were to put a percentage on how much of the pension funds that will be received will remain in the Cayman economy, whether spent on televisions or buying property or what have you, and how much would probably be sent off island to other economies, what do you think would?
From what I'm hearing on the street, but I'm not, I don't talk in a lot of groups of people or anything, kind of keep to myself and my family. But from what I'm hearing, I would wager a guess that maybe anywhere between 40 and 60% of it is going out. It's going to go out of the country.
Right. And then the second thing is, it's just an academic exercise. I don't think we really know. I don't know whether there's going to be a mechanism to track it, and if so, how they would even do that, whether it would be necessary. But the other question I want to ask, and I know we have the final break to take, so if you wish to answer it, we can do so after. But the caller's comments were, I believe, as I understood, part of what he shared was that people who receive pension money, if they were to send it all off island, how are they going to, if they're unemployed now, how will they continue to support themselves? And I guess by inference, will they then still go to government for assistance, or to the other places that help with food, the charities and the like? Perhaps that was part of what maybe he was alluding to as well. If you want
Yeah,
to engage us, we
I
can
can
talk
see the
about after the break.
concern. I can see the concern, but I believe the minister was on the show a couple like a week ago or a week and a half or something like that.
Hmm.
No, it wasn't the minister. Actually, it was um, the um, counselor
Hmm.
saying that NAU determines of eligibility also takes into consideration whether the person has received a pension payout. So
Hmm.
if they receive a pension payout and it's on record, right? Then they're not qualify for, or they, all things being good and equal, they wouldn't qualify for NAU assistance. So that's null and void. That argument.
Mm. It's going to be something, man. All right. Well, I appreciate what you shared. We got a final break to take, and then we come back. We want to hear more from you. So please stay tuned.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today. Cineco is pleased to announce that our offices in Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac have reopened to the public. Cineco will be open to serve our valued clients from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. until further notice. Recommended physical distancing and enhanced sanitization procedures have been implemented in our offices, and visitors will be required to wear face masks for the safety of all concerned. On behalf of the Cineco team, we look forward to serving you.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners is pleased to announce the change in its opening and closing hours for all of its locations. Savannah Countryside, 946-1884, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays. Arbitorium Plaza, Elgin Avenue, 949-2452, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays. Our main store, 337 Eastern Avenue, will be open from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays, 949-7104. These hours will remain in place until further notice. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. 8949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. We invite you to share your thoughts with us. Certainly appreciate you listening and continuing to openly engage, to ask questions, to make your sort of thoughts known to the rest of us as we sit and engage. We may inspire others. They may be encouraged. We may give them, that little extra incentive that they're not alone. That sense of hope that may come from understanding that there are others who likewise, share similar views. But even if there isn't, it may, gel within their minds that they need to be that much more vocal and actively engaged. Well, what would you like to share with us? Please, 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. As you're watching the news globally and listening and following the things that are happening in the region, and as well as what's unfolding here, whether it's legislative assembly with the plans and policies and proposals of our government, or whether it's the other things that are happening. hopefully you're feeling a sense of hope and not despair, that you have a sense of excitement and you're encouraged, not necessarily becoming, you know, despondent and feeling like, oh boy, that's it. Well, we all have to have a sense of hope, and it may be that thing that pushes us forward, but equally inspires others because they see our own actions and then they themselves feel uplifted. And who knows, many hands are clapping in unison so that together, we can make it better. We emerge stronger, safer, much more secure and stable. Well, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Perhaps this is an opportune time for us to be able to rethink our actions and our impact. Perhaps that legacy that we were hoping to leave may now be one that we reevaluate and say, you know what, striving for that statue or that plaque or that some other monument isn't necessarily, really of any great value. Perhaps it's the time we spend with those who mean the most to us and how we help to nurture them and steer them and guide them so that they can pick up the mantle and carry on the torch, as it were. Well, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Who's going to close us out with the last caller sharing a perspective? Quickly, during the last break, someone sent in a link to an article, and I clicked on it. Took a while to load for some reason, and started to read it. So it wasn't possible then to get through the whole thing, but just from a quick glimpse of it, seems to be an opinion piece shared by someone in one of the perhaps more widely recognized publications in this part of the world, I would think. And from what it's shared, it would seem that the author has a perspective that this now could position a people to either dig in and recognize that all is lost, there's really no point, or they could appreciate the importance of service and sacrifice. Now, I'm not sure how the author is going to conclude this article, but hopefully, as I read it, it may be that it'll say, be positive and optimistic and actually take action and do something. And even if your efforts don't come to fruition, it could set the tone for others to carry on. I don't know the author, don't necessarily subscribe to the publication, but it's always good to read. You never know what you learn and what you'll discover even about yourselves and your own thought processes. But there are many of us, I think, who have become just beaten down and are willing to throw in the towel because we believe it doesn't really matter. It's going to happen anyway. So those who have the purse strings are going to call the shots, and those who hold the chords for the puppets are going to tell them when to dance and how to dance. Yeah, maybe some of us accept that. Maybe others of us say, well, you know what? It isn't over till it's over. It depends on your perspective. But thank you very much for sharing with us this afternoon. And as we go about, certainly there's a welcome rain. We are appreciative of that. As our hazard management, HMCI reminds us, still be vigilant in our preparations for not just potential weather conditions that may come up with some degree of warning, but maybe not as much. But there are other, sadly, natural disasters that could, affect us. So being prepared, this is a good time to reevaluate our personal and family and business sort of continuity plans, our safety strategies. Should there be a natural disaster, perhaps we start our hurricane shopping and buying, as we go to the supermarkets, a little bit of provisions to stock for the hurricane season, things that we would, sort of use at the end of the season or be able to share with our neighbors or donate to our communities. Not to hoard at others' expense, but to have available to share just in case someone else, may be in need. And as we do that, is there a way that as we go through and continue, that we can avail ourselves through the certain teams that may be in our area to get further training and offer ourselves to assist, or through the Red Cross or some other entity to learn basic first aid to be useful. Perhaps we'll even have a conversation about the military that is, being formed, and the training that's going to take place shortly with the commandos that will come down and instruct, the rest of us. Ah, boy, it is a changing world. Who knows what we'll see in short order? Just never know. As we follow the news of what has unfolded or is in Hong Kong, well, what would that mean for the rest of us? Never know. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Continue to engage publicly through the talk shows in particular. Please join Mr. Hart for the record and get more sort of political engaged and energized. Certainly feel free to champion a healthy democracy, and as has been shared from time to time, reach out to elected members of the Legislative Assembly, in light of all that happened, perhaps do it in writing, formally. Ask a question, not just a phone call or some sort of electronic means, but what's your view on this? What is happening about that? Why is it this way and not this way? It's only then that they can see that the populace is very much interested and engaged. Please enjoy the rest of the afternoon. If you're out and about and it's raining and the roads are wet, exercise a little bit more caution and attention. Drive a little bit more carefully. Slow down. Observe the speed limit signs and stop signs and the like. And be cautious and considerate and very careful. Please join us again tomorrow for more Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. We have some interesting things in store for you, including a couple of discussions that we are excited about for the rest of the week. But for tomorrow, we're going to talk to friends over at UCCI. Get a chance to tell you about the FRC's parenting webinars as well. So until then, have a blessed, safe, and very productive, enjoyable afternoon. Be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.